Summer was just around the corner. I felt a familiar pull to be outside. I looked out my window at our little garden space. It was a good space, with strong bones. But it felt a little tired after the long winter. The flowers were starting to bloom, but the surrounding area lacked that special spark. I knew I wanted to create a place where my family and I could gather, relax and enjoy the long, warm evenings, a place that felt like an extension of our home, full of life and personal touches. My goal was simple: to breathe new life into our garden without spending a lot of money. Could I transform our entire outdoor area using only items from the Dollar Tree? It sounded like a fun adventure. Every good design starts with a story. Every good design starts with a story. Every good design starts with a story. Before I bought a single item, I took some time to think about the feeling I wanted to create in my garden. I closed my eyes and imagined the perfect summer day. I saw a space that felt calm, natural, a little bit rustic. I was inspired by the look of old European courtyards. I wanted my garden to feel like a secret escape, a place that has been loved for many years. This vision became my guide for the entire project. I was drawn to natural materials like wood, stone, and a color palette of soft whites, earthy greens, terracotta. With my style in mind, I made a list of what the garden needed. The first thing was planters. Next on the list was lighting. I also needed a small, cozy seating area. Finally, I wanted to add some decorative details. I decided to give myself a budget of just $100 for the entire makeover. This might seem small, but it forces you to be creative. A budget isn't a limitation, it's a creative challenge. With my list and my budget in hand, it was time for the best part: shopping. A trip to the Dollar Tree is like a treasure hunt. You never know what amazing things you will find. I went in with an open mind, ready to see the potential in everything. I walked slowly down each aisle, from the garden section to the kitchen supplies to the craft corner. I wasn't just looking for garden items, I was looking for shapes, textures, materials. In the garden section, I found a great starting point. There, I found some beautiful wire baskets meant for holding fruit. I also found some simple glass candle holders. I found spools of jute rope, several bottles of acrylic paint, and some E6000 glue. As I filled my cart, I kept my design story in mind. Does this fit my rustic European courtyard vision? I picked up some simple plastic bowls and thought, I can make these look like aged stone. I saw a plain doormat and thought, I can paint a beautiful pattern on this. The secret is to look past what the item is and see what it could become. My cart was overflowing with possibilities, and I had only spent about $50 so far. I was thrilled with my treasures and couldn't wait to get home and start creating. The first project on my list was to transform the plain plastic planters. I wanted them to look like expensive aged terracotta and stone pots. For the terracotta look, I started with the basic plastic pots. My secret ingredient was baking soda. I mixed some white and terracotta-colored acrylic paint together. Then I stirred in a generous amount of baking soda. This creates a thick, textured paint that looks just like old pottery. It was amazing to see the plastic disappear under this beautiful, earthy finish. For my second planter style, I wanted to create the look of aged stone. I used a sponge to lightly dab the dark paint into the crevices, which created the look of age and moss. My favorite planter project involved the wire fruit baskets. I wanted to turn them into hanging planters. I simply placed a liner in each basket, then used jute rope to create hangers. They looked so charming, like something you would find in a high-end garden boutique. By using different painting techniques and materials, I created a collection of planters that looked coordinated but not identical. This just shows that you don't need to spend a lot of money to get a high-end, curated look in your garden. Good lighting is what turns a pretty garden into a magical one. I wanted to create a warm, inviting glow. My plan was to use a mix of solar lights and candlelight. The black plastic stakes looked a little cheap, so I decided to give them a makeover. This simple step made them look like expensive metal fixtures. I started at the bottom of the glass vase and carefully wrapped the jute rope around it. For a bigger statement, I made a beautiful outdoor chandelier. At night, the chandelier lights up automatically, casting a beautiful dappled light. The effect of all these lights together was truly enchanting. The garden was no longer just a daytime space. It had become a magical retreat that came alive as the sun went down. Every garden needs a comfortable spot to sit. I found an old wooden bench at the back of my garage. It was looking a little worn. A simple coat of paint can do wonders. I chose a classic black exterior paint. It would pop against the green of the garden. At Dollar Tree, I found simple placemats with a neutral stripe pattern. I also bought 2 foam kneeling pads. They added comfort and a touch of pattern. I found a large plastic planter pot and a round plastic serving tray. I painted the whole piece with stone-textured spray paint. It looked like a heavy concrete side table, but was easy to move. This corner of the garden was transformed. This cozy nook became my favorite spot for morning coffee, watching the world wake up. I created the set for less than $15 using a little paint and imagination. The big pieces like planters, seating set the stage, but it's the small details that truly bring a garden story to life. One of my favorite projects, custom garden markers for herbs. Another easy project, a custom doormat. I found some small metal bells in the craft section. I used jute twine to string them together. Now, when a gentle breeze blows, there is a soft, tinkling sound that adds to the peaceful feeling of the space. These small, inexpensive projects made a huge difference. Thoughtful, handmade details are what give a space its heart and soul. The day finally came when all the projects were done. It was hard to believe this was the same tired space from a few weeks ago. Aged terracotta planters, stone planters, green plants filling the pots, flowering plants adding color. The seating area looked like it came straight from a magazine. The lighting transformed the garden into a magical wonderland. Family and friends enjoying long summer nights stayed within my $100 budget. Before and after, more beautiful than I imagined. The garden felt cohesive, stylish, and deeply personal. I hope my little garden makeover has inspired you. The most important tool you have is your imagination. Start by looking at your own space and dreaming about what it could be. Don't be afraid to start small. Every small step is a victory. My favorite projects from this makeover were definitely the planters, the lighting. There is a special joy that comes from creating with your own two hands. To keep your garden looking beautiful all season, the key is simple maintenance. So, I encourage you to take a trip to your local dollar store. Remember to look for good shapes and textures, not just finished products. Don't be afraid to experiment with paint and glue. The worst that can happen is you are out $1 or $2, but the best that can happen is you create something you absolutely love. Your beautiful garden is waiting for you. You just have to be brave enough to begin.